All right, let's get into it. It's something we use every single day, probably without even thinking about it. But how does your phone actually know with such incredible precision exactly where you are on the planet? You know the one I'm talking about. You open up your Maps app and boom, there it is, that little blue dot blinking right back at you. It feels so instant, it's almost like magic. So what's really going on behind the scenes to make that happen?
Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to pull back the curtain because it's not magic at all. It's actually this brilliant system of physics and engineering all working together perfectly. And trust me, understanding how it works is genuinely mind-blowing. To get started, we have to look up, way, way up, because this whole thing begins with a huge network of satellites orbiting high above the Earth. This is the name we all know and use, right? GPS. It stands for Global Positioning System. And what's wild is that it was originally a U.S. Department of Defense project built for military use. Now, it's become this essential tool for pretty much everyone. These satellites are just constantly, 24/7, beaming signals down to Earth that carries some very, very specific information. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. While we all call it GPS, that's actually just one part of a much bigger, much more global picture. You see, the more accurate term is actually GNSS. That's Global Navigation Satellite System. It's this massive international collaboration. So America's GPS is working right alongside Europe's Galileo system, Russia's GLONASS, and China's BeiDou. At any given moment, your phone is probably listening to signals from satellites from several of these systems at the exact same time to figure out where you are. Okay, so your phone is catching all these signals from space. How does it use them to figure out your exact spot on the ground? Well, the secret has a name, and that name is trilateration. I know, it sounds like a complicated word, but the basic idea is actually super simple. If you can figure out your exact distance from a few points that you already know the location of, you can pinpoint your own location. And in our case, those known points are the satellites flying thousands of miles above our heads. So let's break it down. Imagine one satellite sends out its signal. Your phone gets it and calculates how far away it is from that satellite. That means you could be anywhere on the surface of this massive imaginary sphere with that satellite right at the center. It narrows things down, but, not by a whole lot. Okay, now a second satellite chimes in. Your phone does the same math, figures out its distance, and creates a second imaginary sphere. Now, where do those two giant spheres overlap? They create a perfect circle. See, we're getting a lot closer now. And here's the real clincher. A third satellite sends its signal, creating a third sphere. And when that sphere intersects with the circle we just made, it leaves only two possible points where you could be. And usually, one of those points is in a ridiculous location, like way out in space or moving at thousands of miles an hour, so your phone can easily figure out which one is actually you on Earth. So you'd think we're done, right? We used 3 satellites, we found our spot, but not so fast. There's a really important little problem with this whole process, which begs the question, if 3 is enough to find our spot, why do our devices almost always need to connect to a 4th satellite? This brings us to the final and, frankly, the most clever piece of this entire puzzle. The reason we need that 4th satellite comes down to solving a huge problem with one thing: time. Yup, the number 4 is the key. Here's why. Those satellites up in space, they have incredibly precise, super expensive atomic clocks on board. They're perfect. Your phone, on the other hand, has a much cheaper, less accurate little quartz clock. And even a tiny, tiny fraction of a second of difference between those clocks can throw off the distance calculations by miles. That's where the 4th satellite comes in. Its signal is like the master key. It gives your phone enough information to solve for that timing error, basically letting it sync its own clock perfectly with the hyper-accurate satellite clocks. Once the time is fixed, the distance calculations become razor sharp, and it locks in your one, true, precise 3D location. That's the secret sauce right there. Now, as amazing and brilliant as this whole system is, it's not perfect. I'm sure we've all experienced this. There are things in our environment that can really mess with those signals traveling all the way from space. And this is a feeling we all know. You're walking around a big city with tall buildings, or maybe you're deep in a forest, and suddenly that little blue dot starts jumping all over the place. The system is incredible, but yeah, it definitely has its limits. So, what are the main culprits? Well, it's usually physical stuff getting in the way. Tall buildings can block and bounce signals around, creating something called an urban canyon effect. Dense trees can do the same thing. Heck, even conditions in the atmosphere or just having a bad arrangement of satellites in the sky at that moment can impact the accuracy.
But the good news is the system is constantly getting smarter. Engineers are always developing new algorithms to help our phones filter out all those bad bounce signals, and we're always launching new and more powerful satellites. The big goal is to eventually get that accuracy down to just a few centimeters. So when you think about it, the journey of GNSS is just incredible. It went from being this specialized military tool to a global utility that literally fits inside all of our pockets. It's this quiet, invisible network that has completely reshaped how we see and navigate our world. Which really just leaves you with one final thought. Now that we've so completely mastered the where, what's next?